We're going to make a spell shop system with our friend Abe here. He's going to set as a fireball, and then we're going to have a spell book that has fireballs and heals and all sorts of spells, and then we're going to cast them. We're also going to integrate it with the mana system, but if you don't have or have followed that video, it's not essential. And as you can see here, we've still got our same system with our heals and everything, but this is in 5.4, and we've got our fireball. It doesn't let you buy it twice, and then you've got different spells. So fireballs and heals as well. So first things first, we're going to create a new folder for our spell system, and we're going to call it spell system, and open up. And we're going to need a blueprint class, an actor component. I'm going to call that BPC spells. And then we're going to create a structure. And a structure is a long list of variables, and this will be spell info. So inside this structure, we're going to create a bunch of variables like so. We'll just dock that for a second because I need another blueprint class of a actor, and this will be our BP base spell, and this is the spell that everything's going to come off. So this is going to hold all our basic information, and that's why we need that to start with. So back in S spell info, we're going to get BP spell, basic spell, the basic spell, base spell. God, what do I call it? BP base spell. BP base spell. I need to learn to spell, and we need to get this as a class reference. So this will be our spell. Then we are going to want our spell name. So we're going to create a enum, and this will be e spell name. And I'm just going to duplicate that, and this will be e spell type. And we're going to have 3 types of spells. We're going to have ranged, we're going to have buffs, and then you could have like traps and dots, damage over time. And we'll click save there. And in spell names, we're going to start with fireball, and then we go ice spike, and then we'll have a heal as well. Back in spell info, we're going to get e spell type and e spell name, and this will be spell type, and this will be spell name. And then here we're going to have a bunch of float variables. So we're going to have mana cost. We're going to have damage, or like, I'm trying to think of a good word for either damage or heal value to change by. It's probably awful. You might want to just put damage or damage / heal, whatever you want to do. Oh no, we can call this modify amount. That's it. That's better. Modify amount. We want to change this to an integer, and we want the price, so how much it costs to buy the spell. And then we want a float and a float, and we want projectile speed, so how fast it's going to move, and gravity, and then one final one, but this one will be an anim montage, object reference, and montage to play. So spell of type BP base spell, then we've got spell type and spell name, both enums, and then float for mana cost and modify amount, and then integer for price, projectile speed and gravity as floats, and then the montage to play, and that's our structure. Then if we come back out, we're going to want a data table. Data table. And we're going to use that structure that we've created. So S spell info. I'm going to click OK. And this will be our DT spells. If we open up DT spells, then we can add our first spell. So we're going to rename the row name, and the row name needs to match our enum. So we got fireball, needs to match exact. So add that again. Fireball. And our spell we haven't set up yet, but our spell type is going to be ranged. Its name is going to be fireball. It's going to cost 10 mana if you've got a mana system, and it's going to do 20 damage. It's going to cost 10 gold to buy. Its projectile speed will be 1, and its gravity will be 0. And we'll put a montage to play in there in a second. Right, so we have a spell, but we don't actually have anything set up yet. So let's set up our base spell first. And we're going to add a Niagara particle system. And you could also add a cascade particle system as well. So you now get to choose which particle system you want. We're going to add a spear collision. And we'll leave that as it is. And then we're going to add a variable down here, and this will be S spell info. And this needs to be instance editable and expose on spawn. So when we say that we're going to spawn a spell, we're going to pass in the spell info that we've got, and it's going to set everything that we need. So this will be our spell info. So in the construction script, we're going to add the projectile movement component. And in spell info, we're going to get that, pull that out and break it. And then we're going to get projectile movement info, and we're going to get the gravity scale and set it. So set projectile gravity scale, and we can pass in the gravity scale here. And then in projectile movement, we're also going to get the speed, and we're going to set the max speed as our projectile speed. We also want to do the initial speed. So we're going to set the initial speed as well. And this will also be projectile speed. So we're going to spawn a child of this, but because we're using the base, then we're going to get the information that we're passing into it, or telling it which spell we're going to use, and then it's going to set our initial speed, max speed, and gravity scale. So that's all set up. Next, we're going to go to the event graph. We're going to delete those, and then we're going to get the spear collision, and we are going to right click it, add an event on component begin overlap, and we want to get the other actor, make sure it doesn't equal, and we need to promote this to a variable. But this needs to be an actor of object type. And this will be the spawner of the spell. And we need to, again, make this instance editable and expose on spawn. Because what could happen is that we spawn it and it spawns inside of like our hand or something, and then it damages us, and we don't want that. So then we're going to make a branch. and we're going to apply that branch just here. So if it's not equal, that's what this exclamation part and equal sign means, then we're going to get the spell info and we're going to break it again, and we're going to get the modify amount, and we are going to apply damage and connect true to that, and then other actor goes to damaged actor, and click save. Once we hit, we want to maybe spawn another effect, like a explosion type effect. So we're going to spawn system at location, and this is a Niagara system. So we can either do this one, or if you've got cascade effects, which is spawn emitter at location. And this is the old effect. So it depends on what effects that you've got as to which one you should use. What we can do is we can promote this to a variable and call this hit effect, and then we can get it, right click it, convert it to a validated get, and if this is valid, then we can go here, and if it's not valid, we can get a cascade effect. So cascade effect hit. We also call this Niagara hit effect, and we can promote this to a variable, convert this to a validated get as well, and if it's not valid, then, so if Niagara isn't valid, then we check cascade, but if Niagara is valid, then we run the code if it was a Niagara effect. We can get sweep results and break the hit result, and we can pass the location into both of these. We can also get a spawn sound at location and connect both of these up, and it is not valid as well. And we can get the location as well. And then we can promote this to a variable, and we can call that hit SFX. And what this does is it allows us to change each of these effects in each of the children that we're going to set up in a second, so that we can have a fully versatile system. And then if it hits, we're going to destroy the actor, and that actor is going to be ourselves. So we'll compile that. We go back to our content browser. We can now right click, create a child blueprint, and I can call this BP Bible. And now inside here, if I go down to the cog, I can say show inherited variables, and I can set each of these systems to be the one that I want. So if I go to the cascade system, there should be a fire here, I hope. That's the hit effect. So if I go to this particle system here and set this fire, I have this absolutely terrifying fireball, and I can just rotate it individually on this particular fireball, and then for an ice I'd come in here and set that up separately. Back in data table spells, if I select fireball, I now have the option for BP fireball, and that's all set up as well. There is one thing missing from this structure, so we're going to add a variable, and this will be a texture 2D, and this will be our spell. We'll click save, and then we'll have a spell icon that we can use. as well. So for now, we're just going to choose this red devil. So we've got a base spell, we've got our first spell, our fireball, and we have our data table as well. Next, we're going to go to our BPC spells. These spells, we're going to create two variables. So they're both going to be of the same type, which is spell info, spell info, and this will be our known spells. And we can turn this into an array. An array is just a collection of all the spells that we would know at that time. And then if we select it, press Ctrl D, then this will be our selected spell. So if we now come back over to here and make it a single, so that we can only have one spell selected to use at a time. We're going to right click and create an event and call that spawn spell. So right click, get a custom event, and call that spawn spell. And then we're going to get this selected spell, and we're going to break it again. And then we're going to spawn actor from class. So right click, spawn actor from class, put the class into here, and put our selected spell info into our spawn actor, and then our spawner will be get owner. Except it won't be target actor, it will be get owner component. And we'll just connect that up like that. And it doesn't like the spawn transform, which is fine. So from get owner, we're going to get actor location. And we'll plug that into there. Okay. So now we're going to open up our character. So CBP sandbox character. And I'm going to add in our spells. BPC spells. And inside our selected spell, I'm going to add in our fireball. And on the one key now, I'm going to get BPC spells and call spawn spell. And we'll press that and press 1, and we've got our spawn spell just there. Okay. Now that spell's not moving because we're not telling it the projectile speed, we're just telling it that it needs to spawn a fireball base spell. So let's set up a teacher. So I'm going to go blueprint class, character, and this will be BP magic teacher. And we'll open that up. And in the mesh, I get Manny, simple, and bring him down and spin him around like so. And then in our character, we're going to want a way of interacting with him. So blueprints, so sandbox character, and we want an interaction system. So we're going to say IA interact, because believe it or not, there is actually one already set up. And that comes as standard in Gasp. And we want to do a spear trace. God, my spelling is awful today. Spear trace for objects, and object type we're gonna make array. and that needs to be for pawn because that's what our magic teacher should be. So I'll just go to the magic teacher mesh, scroll down, just check object type pawn, and that's what we're searching for. So that's fine. And we're gonna get our start location, which is get actor location. And from get actor location, I'm also gonna get actor rotation. And then I'm gonna forward vector. So forward. So get forward vector, and then I'm gonna multiply that and add, and we're gonna add the actor location by the forward vector. If we right click the bottom pin of the get forward vector, the times node, multiply node, we can say how far we want that to go. And that's just gonna go to 100 of a radius of 100. We're going to go from return value, going to make a branch, and then from out hit, we just want to, well, first off, let's test it. So we want to get a print string, and we just want to print hello if we hit something. Now we'll get our magic teacher, spell system, magic teacher, and we can press E. And you can see that we're interacting with him saying hello because it's registering that he's hit. Okay, so now then I want to make a blueprint interface. I'm going to make it outside the spell system because it's not really anything to do with that. Blueprint interface called BPI interact. And I'm going to have a interact function inside that. Inside magic teacher, class settings, I'm going to go to interfaces and we're going to set interact. BPI interact. And we're going to save that. In event graph of the magic teacher, in interfaces, we want to get the interact. And in sandbox character, where we're doing our line trace from out hit, we're going to break. And then from hit actor, we're going to call interact. And I want the interact message. And this is just a super basic interaction system. And then again, to check that's working, we can go print string. So now when I press E, you can see I'm still printing hello, and that's because it's receiving the message inside here. And then anything with this interact function can receive that message. So we're going to add spells, BPC spells. So we're going to add a variable here of E spell names, and we need to make that an array, and that needs to be instance editable and expose on spawn. And this will be known spells. We're going to get known spells, and we're going to get its length. And then we're going to -1 that, so subtract -1, and we're going to do a for loop on that, and that's going to be our last index. Then we're going to get our data table row, get data table row. So we're going to get a copy and at this index, and we're going to do enum to string and then string to name like that. And we're going to select our spells table. Then we're going to get BPC spells and known spells, get known spells. And then we're going to add unique. And then this out row is going to add to this. Now we can go to our magic teacher and we can say, what do you know, bro? and save that. Just make sure that these known spells are, yep. So now if we come to defaults, right at the bottom, we've got known spells, and I can click add, and it adds fireball, and I can just add a bunch of known spells to this guy. And what that'll do is it'll get our known spells, it'll loop through them and find each one in the array, and it'll add it to our spell list, but specifically to this character. And then what we want to do, once this is completed, we want to make a custom event. And we want to say show shop. And we're going to get the custom event show shop. And what this custom event is going to do is create a widget. So then we need the shop widget. So we go to spell system, create a new folder for our magic shop, and then we'll move our magic teacher in here, create a new folder for our widgets. And in here, I want two widgets. I want the WBP shop widget, and we want the WBP slot widget. So WBP shop icon. Probably don't need the word widget at the end of shop widget. So inside shop, gonna add a canvas panel, and then I'm gonna add a vertical box. And inside that vertical box, I'm going to add a background blur. And that's going to fill everything. We're just going to have that be a little bit strong, like 4. And then I'm going to add a button at the bottom. And inside that background blur, I'm going to add a uniform grid. For the button, we just want that to be auto. I want the padding to be like 50, like that. And the text on that, I just want that to be like close. There we go. Save that, and that's our shop. In our graph for our shop, we need some variables. So we need 2 integers. We want row and duplicate that. So Control D, and column. And then we want a custom event. So add a custom event. This will be build shop. Okay. So from event construct, we're going to build shop. And then at the start, we want to set row, set column to be 0. We also need the grid, the uniform grid. So this would be shop grid. Make that a variable. And this shop grid, we're going to clear the children. So every single time that we open the shop, we're going to set the rows back to 0 and set the grid back to 0 because we don't want to have old stuff in there. We want to refresh it. And then we need a new variable of spells inventory, and that needs to be of spell info. Back in Magic Teacher, we're going to make this magic shop, WBP shop, and then I want the return value of magic or spell. inventory, because the spell inventory needs to be an array. So make this an array. Go back to Magic Teacher, get the spell inventory and set it, and then pass in BPC spells known spells. So get known spells and pass it in just there. So that'll set the spell inventory. So then we can do a for loop. We can get the spell's inventory. We can get its length. We can -1. So we can subtract at -1. And that'll be our last index. And then on loop body, we're going to create widget. And this will be our magic shop slot. WB P shop icon. And then from there, we're going to get our shop grid and add to child to uniform grid. Add the content here, get our row and our column, and make sure that those are fine. We'll get the column, and we'll add to the column so that we move along. And if the column is greater than or equal to 4, we will do something. So if it is, we will add a row, double plus increments it, and then we'll set the column back to 0. So if it's at 4 along, then we go to the next one. Now we're going to get spell inventory and get a copy, and we need it at this index. And for now, that's it. We're just going to go into shop icon and open up the icon. We're going to add a canvas panel to that. And then we're going to add a button and some text. So text to the button, and then we're going to add some text to the canvas panel as well. And I want the button size to be like 75 by 75, and the text can just be whatever. Get rid of the padding, we don't want the padding. And then the canvas panel, we come up to the top, we can change the canvas panel to be desired on screen. And then this text here, just want to be underneath this button. The sell price, so sell price, that'll be a variable. Put some numbers in there. And then this text block, and this will be like buyable, but we just need to change the size of it. There. Like that. So if you do middle, buyable, change the size of it. So yeah, if you go to button and you go to normal padding and press padding, change that to 0. And then in graph on event construct, if we get the sell price, and we can set text. And in designer, we need to make sure that this text is the spell name and set that to be a variable. And then back in graph, we can get spell name and set text as well. And then button, we can set style. So button, we can set style, and then we can get in style and make button style, and from normal we can make slate brush and connect that to normal and disabled. And then we need a variable, which is spell info. We need this to be spell info, and we'll get spell info, and we'll break it open, and we'll put spell price into sell price, and we'll put spell name into spell name. So enum to string again, and connect that there. And then spell icon we'll put into image, and then from hovered we can make a slate brush, and we can change the tint by making another slate color and put in the tint to like a gray. And then if we connect spell icon, we can add the spell icon just there. So now back in WBP shop, if we pull out from shop icon, we can get spell info, and we can set it to be this get just here. So then we can compile, come into the world, and then onto, it's onto? Oh, it's on E. On E, when we go back to our magic teacher, we can show shop, and we can add to viewport, and make sure that we do that after we set the spells inventory. So let's play here, press E, and there we have Fireball ready to go. Beautiful. Couple of bits we need to do because we don't have a close button that works or anything like that. So in WBP shop, we're going to go to designer, we get this button, it's button 130, and on clicked we want to remove it from the parent, but first we want to actually add the stuff that we need on screen. So we're going to get player controller and set input mode gaming UI only, and then we're going to set show mouse cursor. That's it for that. But because we're going to be opening quite a few widgets, we're going to come out of it and go into our world, create a blueprint function library, call this BPFL, and this will be high use functions. And we're going to call this one open widget, because we're going to also use this for when we want to open our spellbook widget as well. We're going to get these three widgets and press Control C, and then we're going to Control V them into open widget. Add to widget needs to be passed into open widget, and then the target needs to be put into in widget to focus. Make sure you tick show mouse cursor. Back in our shop for our magic teacher, we're then just going to call open widget, and then get rid of these three. So now that we've opened a widget, we should probably close the widget as well. So in high use functions, we're just going to create a new function. This one's going to be called close widget. We're going to get remove from parent and pass the target into here. And then we're going to do get player controller. And set input mode game only. And show mouse cursor to be false. And we're going to compile that and save. And then in shop, on this onClicked event from button 130, we can just do close widget. And the target will be self. Okay. Now in shop icon, we need to get the button, and if it was unclicked, then we can get player character, and we can get component by class. This all depends on how you want to do this, because this will now create a link to the spells component that we have, but we're not going to be having a magic shop icon without a spells component, so it's not the worst thing in the world. We can get known spells. So known spells. Get known spells. We can get spell info, and we can see if known spells contains item. So we're checking if this item already exists. Get a branch. And if it does already exist, then we can do a print string to say already known spell. And if it doesn't exist, then we can do add unique. We can get this known spells array and add unique, which will only allow us to add one version of that spell. So now, if I come to dude and press E, I've now got my mouse working and everything like that. Click Firewall, buy it. Now I already know the spell, can't rebuy it. So we brought a spell and we have the ability to know it. Now we need the ability to activate it and set it. So we're going to duplicate both of these, and instead of shop, this is going to be WBP spell book. So this is going to be spell book icon, and we're going to go into WBP spellbook, and most of this is going to be fine. That's going to be fine. That will be fine. We'll change build shop to be build spellbook, and this will be fine. And rather than getting the spells inventory, because we don't need that, we're going to want to get player character, get component by class, and we want to get spells. And then I want to get known spells and add that into both of these. And then instead of shop icon, this will be spellbook icon. And then just need to replace this spell info. So get set spell info and pass that into there. And then shop grid can stay the same. We should rename it, but it'll be fine for the time being. And onClick close widget, that's fine, and that's fine as well. So then in our spell book icon, we don't need the sell price. Get rid of that, which means we can get rid of this bit for the sell price. We don't need that anymore. All the rest is fine. And then on clicked, I don't need any of that. Then on clicked, we can get player character, get player character, and we can get the spell info, and we can get component by class, make that spells, and we can set selected spell to be this one. And then also, if we go to BPC spells, we can create a custom event. So custom event, and set hood icon and selected spell. So we can do set selected spell and pass that in here. And then we can create an event dispatcher that says on spell selected. We can call that from here. We create a parameter that gets the texture 2D object reference. And then we can break this selected spell and pass in spell icon. And that would just be on spell selected, because then we can update the HUD from here. So actually, if we go back to spellbook icon, we don't need to call this one. We're going to just do spell selected event. Where is it? So set HUD icon and selected spell. So we're going to call that set HUD and then selected spell, and then selected spell just there. Now for the HUD icon, so we're just going to make another widget, a user interface widget blueprint, WBP HUD icon, and we're going to open that up. I'm just going to add an image just there. And then I already have a HUD, this WBP HUD. So spell book icon. What have I called it? I cannot remember what I call stuff. Spell system, magic short, widgets, HUD icon. That's a really bad name. Call it something better. I'm just going to make that a good size. And then inside sandbox character, I'm going to select spells, go down to on spell selected, and then we're going to get the HUD reference that we set up earlier, get HUD icon. So then we're going to get image 31 from the HUD icon and set texture. Set brush from texture. And I'm just going to pass this one in just like that. So now I need a way of opening up the widget. So on key event 2 in BPC spells, we're going to create widget. This will be our spellbook. We're going to call open widget, which is why we made this earlier, so that we can just call the one event, and then I can play. So my spell icon is in the bottom left corner. I can press 2, and I have Fireball. I shouldn't have Fireball. Why do I have Fireball? Sandbox character, BPC spells. Okay, so I have a known spell, so we'll get rid of that. And get rid of our selected spell as well. So if I replay that, you can see I've got nothing. Click close on here. Now if I go to my dude, select Firewall, close his shop, press 2. I've now got Firewall, press close, and see that it shoots off now all the way to where we need to go. The only thing that we need to fix is the direction of it, and that is because we need to get the rotation. So split this transform, so right click it, split the transform, get out to location, and then get back to rotation. And we'll go back into the world, and we'll talk to him with E. We've got our Fireball. We can't buy it again because we already know it. Press 2 to open up our inventory or shop, get our Fireball, and now we can press 1 and it shoots whatever direction that we're looking at. So now we have our Fireball spell and that's all working, but we want to really get some montages and we want to put some checks on here for mana. So if you've been following the mana system before, then you'll have that mana system set up. If not, go back and watch that video. And so to do that, we're going to come to our player character. I'm just going to change a couple of bits and bobs. So right now we're doing this spawn spell on 1. That's fine. So we can move this use mana bit back into there, and then we can do spawn spell that way. So now if I run speak to Loki, get our thing, open up our spell book, assign our spell, press 1, and we can see that our mana is reducing. And now can't cast any more spells until our mana comes back up. So that's good, but we want to really have this on a montage. So we're going to create a new custom event, add a custom event, and we're going to call this cast spell. And we're going to get our selected spell and break it, and we're going to check that it is valid and get a branch. And if it is valid, then we're going to play montage, and the montage we're going to play is this montage to play, and the person who's playing it is going to get owner and then get component by class. We get a skeletal mesh component and plug that in just there. So we're checking that the class that we've got assigned is a valid class because we don't want to be trying to cast spells off nothing or throw an error. And then we're getting the person who owns this because this can be owned by a minion or an enemy. And then we're going to tell it to play a montage. But we need to grab some montages. First off, I'm going to grab a character so that I've got a holding location, and I want to change my NPC as well. So I'm going to download this guy, original pose FBX, download him. He looks like a magic teacher. Go to animations, and get an idle animation for this guy. And I'm going to download that without skin. And then I'm going to get two cast animations. Okay. Like a fireball type cast thing. And then I'm going to get this standing one hand cast. So which one? For heal, let's get this one first. So we're going to get one-handed casting spell upwards. And we'll download that. And that'll be, again, without skin. And then we will get, see, all of these come from the left hand. Kind of want one from the right hand. There we go. Standing one hand, magic attack one. One-handed casting spell forward. Oh, unless we can just mirror this one. So spell cast with a two-hand sword, and we'll click mirror to put it onto the right. And we'll download that, and again, that'll be without skin. So that's fine. We'll come back to our game animation sample. We'll make a new folder. We'll call that Mixamo. And then we'll import Old Man Abe, which is the character 18. And once he's imported, just check these issues. And that just says that there's some missing bones. That's not a problem. Okay. Then we'll import all three of these animations, so spellcast, stand-in, H, and idle. And we're going to import them to Abe, character 18. Beautiful. We'll import those. And then the spellcast and the stand-in one-hand cast, we're going to right-click, click retarget, go to the UEFN mannequin, and spellcast looks good. And that one's a spellcast. So make sure both of these are highlighted. I'm going to export the animations. And where's the spell system? I'm going to shut them in the spell system and click export. So now we have our animations, which is beautiful. And we can select both of these, right click them, and create an anim montage. And then we're going to open those up. And I'm going to make some notifies. So here, I'm going to add a notify. I'll call it, it's going to be a montage notify. And it will be attack spell. We'll click save on them. And I'm just going to copy that. Come back to BPC spells. And then on notify begin, I'm going to get a switch on name. And I'm going to press control and move this to on notify begin. And then a switch on name, just going to get the attack spell. Like that. And then we're going to do spawn spell. So if we go back to our data table, we go back to spell system, data table, got this fireball, the montage to play. I've got the one hand cast spell montage. Let's just make sure. No, it's the spell cast montage. So we can select spell cast montage, come here and press this little arrow, and that will work as well. And then we can just test this. So come up to our dude, buy our fireball, press 2. And then, oh, we haven't changed in sandbox character this one to be cast spell. So I'm also going to do BPC spells, and then we're going to create a new custom event. Add custom event. I'm going to call this learn spell. And inside here, I'm going to get a spell name. So e spell name. And this will be spell to learn. And then from here, I'm going to get data table row. Get the spells data table. And we'll put that in there. And then the out row will just get our selected spell and we'll set it. Okay, so what we're going to do, just to make this a little bit easier, is I'm going to copy key number 1 in the sandbox character, go to details, and then on key number 5 in spells, I'm going to get learn spell, and we're just going to learn fireball straight away. So now if I play, press 5, nothing's happened. Oh, so no, we're going to get, this is wrong, we're going to get known spells and add unique. Right, enum to string, and then string to name. This is what I mean about this enum. There we go. Yeah, for whatever reason, the enum doesn't like what it doesn't like. And then there's our fireball being cast. So, a couple of bits here. Obviously, we can slide our feet, and we're not wanting that. But for the most part, we're casting a spell and shooting a fireball. Okay, so let's go into spellcast montage, and we'll change this default slot group. So we're going to go here, and we're going to add a slot, and this will be upper body, and then in sandbox character, where the mesh is, we just want to go to anim class, ABP sandbox, and inside the anim graph, just here, we're going to grab pose history and cache it. And this will be motion match. And then from here, we're going to get a layered blend per bone. And we can then call motion match as the cache. And if we control D that, we can do the same, but we're going to get the slot, default slot. And then at the top, we're just going to change that to upper body. And this is going to blend these two poses together. And our layered blend per bone, we're just going to set up to blend on spine 04. And I'm going to tick both of these. I've not changed this to the actual slot. There we go. So upper body. Press 5. Get our fireball. And then there we go. So now we're running and we can cast our fireball like the avatar that we are. Okay. Save that. So we're going to also add another spell. So I'm going to find our fireball from our base spell. I'm going to right click, create child. And this will be BP heal. And this one needs to work a little different. So in our base spell, currently we are setting the max speed and initial speed and the gravity, that's fine. And then we are applying damage based on the modifier amount. And then we're spawning the particle effects and the sound. And destroying the actor. But for a heal, we don't want to do that. So what we can do is in BP Fireball, we can take all this and control exit. And in BP Fireball, we can put all this. And then BP Fireball can become our BP base attack spell. So all of the projectile stuff is going to come off this. And then from there, we can have BP Fireball. And BP heal is going to do something different. So inside BP heal, when we are spawned, we're going to want to find the floor. So line trace by object, and the object type will be world. So we'll make an array, and we want world static, and the start location will be the spawner location. Get that location, and the end location will be break this vector. The end location will be the same x and y, but minus, let's say 10,000, and that should put it on the feet, and we'll ignore self, and we'll do that for duration. And then we'll get a branch, and we'll break this hit result, and then we shall, where that impact is the location, actually we just want to set that location to that location and select teleport. And then on a begin play, so we're going to get the spear trace, and we're going to add event on component begin overlap, and we're going to get the other actor, and we're going to check if it's the player character, and if it is, then we will apply damage, but we can do minus 10. Oh no, we can get spell info, and we can break it, and the modifying amount will be multiplied, and we can multiply that by -1. So now we can duplicate our fireball row and call this heal. We can change our fireball to be BP fireball. We can change heal to be BP heal. Our type is buffs, and our fireball name is heal. Cost 10 mana. Change the icon to green, and change the spell to be upper body. And then we'll come into the montage. We'll add a notify here. This will be a montage event as well, and we'll call that buff. And then we'll change the group slot to upper body. And then back in PPC spells, we're going to switch on name, and we'll make sure that we add buff here as well. And right now it will be fine to do a spawn. So if I go to the top and change the spell to learn inside Sandbox character from Fireball to heal, should now be able to press 5, press 2, get our heal, and press 1. And it didn't find the floor. Also, we don't have any Niagara effects, so BP heal, Niagara effect. What have I got? Have I got anything? What's that? So that would work. Let's change that to world dynamic, see what that finds. Maybe 10,000 is too much. Let's do 1,000. Press 5, press 2, get our heal. There we go. Found the floor. And we are casting our spell. And you should have a much better Niagara effect. But that's our heal working as intended. And if you had a health system, it would add health on as well. And then it's just a case of going back to our content and going to create a new child blueprint class and adding in your ice spell and any other sort of spells that you want and just programming them as you want to. And if we come to our magic teacher, we can do one last thing. So we can change him to character 18. And we can do use animation asset, and we can change his idle. So now this guy looks more like a magic teacher, although he's got a big head. He's got a fireball. I'm going to complete a quest and learn a heal. So now I've got fireball or heal, and I can move between them. So there's fireball, and then heal. That's what. Now we do have a problem with our widget. So right now, if you press 2 a lot, then it will create the widget on top of it. So we can just create a variable and say spell book open, and then from a branch, if the spell book's not open, then we open the widget and set the spell book to be open. And if the spellbook is open, then we can close the widget. So do this and get close widget and pass this value in here and just check that our spellbook is defaulted to false. It is. Beautiful. So now if I press 2, I can open and close the spellbook. And we've got our heal, which is on 5. And this learn spell event that we've got at the top, this is perfect for like when you complete a quest, you can get a spell passed in, or anything that you sort of want to do, you can handle in here as well. So I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.